is going on YouTube? Zero Elite here, back again with a new video, episode 44, the Disco Era USS Enterprise tutorial. Just want to thank you again for tuning into today's video, and if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button helping me in supporting the channel. I definitely appreciate that. And today we got a couple of things to work on. We're going to be continuing our work for engineering bay, and we're going to get some work done on our deflector dish. Not a super long video today, but just about 28 minutes. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, and we're just going to be picking up right where we left off. So these pillars that I have on all four corners going around our warp core, we're going to start to build a room basically going around it. This point, we're just kind of trying to figure out how exactly we're going to be walling off our engineering bay and trying to basically make it work off the shape that we currently have. Because again, we're kind of, at this point, we're taking a lot of liberties because we don't have that many pictures of the interior of the Disco Era Enterprise. So basically what we're going to be trying to be doing is kind of blending together the TOS Enterprise engineering with the motion picture Constitution class refit Enterprise, and trying to get something that looks a little bit familiar. But you know, that's kind of what I've been talking about in the past videos, because these ships from show to show or movie to movie, they vary on the interior. You only get so much of it, and it's usually different from what you saw before. You can take a lot of liberties with it. So we're just pretty much going to be looking for the moments and trying to build that out as best that we can. But right now, as you can see, as I said that we're going to be doing the last video, we're just going to be covering up this wall from the last couple of episodes when we were working on our shuttle bay control room and then the corridor to lead us into engineering. We're just going to do a flat wall going straight across pretty much, except right in the middle here. You can see that's only 3 wide. You can see there's a little bit of a gap back here. Maybe at one point we might put a room there, but don't worry about it. Just close it up. Again, out of sight, out of mind. If you have a couple of gaps here and there on your ship, really no one's going to know about it except for yourself, so you can close it up and it won't look bad. We don't want to be in a point where we're trying to use every single bit of space, because then at that point you're going to be a slave to the room that you have rather than making it look exactly how you want, if that makes sense. So that looks pretty good. So we got our flat wall now, starting to separate things just a little bit. We got to bring that all the way down too, because underneath the shuttle bay, that's going to be like the cargo room. So you can see I'm going to start to do that now. I'm just going to bring this wall all the way down, just so we can start to get some separation. This is also going to really help us in seeing exactly how much room we have to work with for each section of our lower hull. All right. So I'm just going to bang out the rest of this, and it's going to do it layer by layer, not too complicated. Just doing one block thick, and we're just going to go all the way up and fill this in. It may not look like it, but we're actually going to have a lot of room to work with here. Should be able to do everything that I want to do for this tutorial. And, you know, if there's anything that varies that you're not, well, let me put it this way. If there's something that you're not happy with, you know, you can always make changes to it. So it doesn't have to be exact to what I'm building. You know, this is just mostly supposed to be to give you some ideas on what you can do and how you can do it. And then also proportioning out the different areas of the interior, because it is a little bit tricky and there's a process to it. As you can see, like the number one thing, as I started with when we got in here, was putting down my hallways. As soon as we have our hallways plotted out, then you know we're moving on to, we're getting main important things like our turbo lift and then our warp core. So once that's established, now we can start to separate. So it's like we have to break it down piece by piece by piece. If you do it another way, then you may run into a situation where stuff's just not going to blend together. And a perfect example of that would be my 2009 Enterprise. If you go back and watch, I've got the update videos for that for the interior. Like if you look on the inside of that, it's a lot more scatterbrained. And it also doesn't feel like very true to the ships, you know. Um, these all the ships in Star Trek, they all pretty much have like a set format to them, and like as far as like where the certain hallways are on the lower and upper hull. And then engineering, you know, it's usually in a certain spot. So I mean, it's kind of hard to mess up certain areas because you kind of got the gust of where you know things are going to go. All right, now we're in our turbo lift that's going up into our shuttle bay, and also the shuttle bay control room. We're just making the ladder going all the, or the turbo lift that's going to be going all the way down now. And then we can also build out the rest of the turbo lift going down this way too. Because again, you want to make sure you facade that out just to maintain the illusion that it's going to look like there's multiple decks on your ship. And it's also going to help it stand out a little bit too, because there's not that many ships out there, or builders out there, that have their ship like this with this much detail in it. We're looking pretty good. We got 3 wide on the back, 3 wide on the sides, 3 wide on the front. So this simple 3x3, and we're just doing the white concrete, and we're just going to fill this in, and then we're going to come back again and add in our detailing. All right, now we got this side. We're just going to bring that all the way up. Going just a little bit. You can see I got just a tiny bit of a gap behind the turbo lift, but I'm not worried about it. We're building out what we want, and if there's a tiny gap left over, like I said, we'll just fill it in, and we'll never know that's even there. But again, you don't want to get to a point where you're just filling in everything. You know, we want to use the space that we got as much as possible, but we're just making it to where we're trying to design this as much as possible exactly how I want it to be, kind of within the shape that we have. All right, now we're going to start to add in our other levels. And we're just going off the same pattern that we did in the last episode when we were doing our turbo lift. I'll fill in the rest of this wall, I think. Let's go and bang that out. And we just got a couple more to fill in. All right, looking good. So we have a cargo room sectioned off. So we know how much room we're going to have to play with back there. Decent amount of room. And we're starting to get an idea of how much room we're going to have to work with between our engineering bay and then our deflector control room. Remember, the engineering bay is going to end up being like a couple levels, more than likely like 3 levels. So these struts that we started to make before, we're just going to carry this on. I got a black line going down, or dark gray block going down the middle of each side of the square, and just continuing on with our struts that we have going along the circle. because we're trying to make this look like there's a giant frame holding this in place, and that that the ship has a structure to it. See, that looks pretty good. We don't want to go too far forward because we're gonna have to put a wall here too. You can see I started to work on the walls here for the engineering bay, but at this point, I wasn't dead set on which direction I wanted to go in. I was still kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but ultimately, um, what I was talking about earlier is what we're going to do, blending the two engineering bays from the two different enterprises, the TOS and the Constitution refit. And I think that's going to work out much better than what the CGI crap that they had in the show, from what I could find. Didn't look very good. All right, now we're just kind of working out our hallways here on the side. I'm not going to be going any more than 3 out, because anything forward of that where the deflector is, there's going to be a wall there. And it's not going to be anything more than 1 block thick. You can see we're kind of making progress here. Still have quite a bit of work to do down here before we even move up into the saucer section again. We're going to have to close up this roof here, in fact, in the front. You can see now I'm bringing my struts back out, because anything right past this strut is going to be the wall. But we're going to have it one behind it, because I want those struts to be sticking out, because again, this is going to, when you come up to the front of the ship here, you're going to see it, and it's going to make it, again, it's going to make the ship look like it has an actual structure to it. And let's repeat that for the top. And then once we do that, we're going to add in extra layer lines that are going to meet going along the sides here. So this way, all of our black lines are connected. Bring this to the right, going all the way over and down. And that's going to meet up with our line going along the wall. Perfect. And then we're going to do that along the left. Now we're going to repeat that process again, but on the underside. That's looking pretty good. We're going to add a couple more lines to connect the sides, but it's looking really good. Let's do the top. This is where we can connect the rest of them. I'm just going straight down the middle, so this way we can meet up with this line. And we're going to do that again for the bottom and then the sides. You want to make sure that you're following the cut. If you have any access, make sure to delete that, because we're just going along with the current pattern that we have along the wall of the hull. Then we gotta get the right side and the left side. Then we just did a black line going along the back side of our deflector, just continuing on with our pattern here of just basically trying to make a lip going along everything, because we're just trying to make basically the hull struts. I think that looks pretty darn good. There's not going to be too much more that we're actually going to be doing to the deflector control room. Once we put the wall in, we're just going to be making 2 doors axis from either side, and then I might put in like something that looks like a control panel, but other than that, I'm going to call it a day. And it looks like I used the wrong color. I've got the white quartz, and we need to switch to actually the white concrete. There we go. And again, we're going to be building this one behind our struts. This way, when we go into this room, these struts are going to stick out. All right, so we're just going to fill this all the way in, top and bottom, just one thick. We're going to just go ahead and bang that out. And I haven't had a ton of questions lately in the comments section. For whatever reason during this tutorial or any of the other episodes, if you have any questions regarding the build, if I'm not specific enough, drop a comment below. Usually pretty responsive in the comment section. If I don't get to your question in the comments, chances are I'll probably answer it in the video, or I may have already answered it in a previous video. But we're definitely we're making progress here. As you can see, we got to close in the roof up here, but we're really getting to a point where we've got a good idea on exactly how big each room is going to be. We've got our engineering sectioned off from our deflector control room, and now we're in the next couple episodes are really going to be banging out the rest of the engineering bay, so this way we can get back up into the saucer section and bang out the rest of those rooms and complete the rest of this tutorial. But we still have quite a bit to do. Let's see. I think at this point we're going to fill in either, pretty sure we're going to go down and fill down out the bottom half of this. So I'm just kind of whizzing around, checking stuff out, trying to get an idea of what I'm going to do, because, you know, again, I wasn't set on how my engineering bay was going to look, because I pretty much just try to come up with a design that looks like a mix between those two ships, between the TOS and the Constitution refit. I think it ends up coming out pretty good. It's not exact, but I wasn't going for an exact. See, at this point, I'm just kind of plotting out my walkways to see how big this room is going to be. The priority is the main turbo lift. Now, that is probably the only downside right now. Well, not even a downside, but it's probably the only compromise I had to make with this whole build, is that this turbo lift, it's not going to be, at this point in the ship, it's not going to be blended in with anything. And that's why I made it to where you can access it from both sides. But it doesn't really look bad, and I've seen other ships in the past where they've had a turbo lift sticking out like this. So we're just going to make it work, and we're going to build out around it. but I think ultimately what I come up with, it looks pretty cool. You see when I'm doing it, I'm counting out. So we're going 3 out. And on the 4th one, we're going to start to build out some hallways that are going to access our deflector control room. And we go 3 out, and then we start building 3 wide. And I think I come out 4 or 5. But I'm going to delete some of these because my current walkways on here aren't very long. I think I'm going to shave some of that down. Because at first I had this coming all the way down, but then I didn't like it because, and this is my current dilemma with it, is that as I build out this hallways now, I'm covering up all this beautiful work that we just did with all the struts and everything here. So I'm kind of stuck on that right now. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do exactly with that and how I want to have my hallways coming around here. So as we get this completed, I mean, if you have any suggestions, definitely drop a comment below. Love to hear your guys' feedback regarding that. But trying to make it work with what I got here. You can see I got my 2 hallways plotted out, and I've gone my doorway. I've gone 3 up, 3 wide, directly above where we just put our walkways, and we're looking pretty good. Starting to plot out where stuff's going to go. We're able to start closing off some sections, making this look like we're actually doing some stuff in here. But I mean, that's just what it takes when you're doing this tutorial. I mean, or doing the ships, you end up having to do a lot of prep work before you can start really building it out. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, because I mean, that's just one of the extra things that's going to help your ship come to life and make it look that much more detailed. You can see I'm trying to fill in the roof, and I'm just going one above the strut on the roof. And past that, we're just going to go one thick and just fill that all the way in. That looks pretty good. We still have to close down the wall for underside too. Definitely rocking here. We've flown right through this episode. We got about still 5 minutes left, so we got a couple of things left to do before we're gonna wrap up episode 44. And I'm just gonna continue this on. I don't necessarily have to stay with the cut for this part of it, because we're just gonna fill all this in. So if you have any access, don't worry about it. All right, so now we're gonna start to fill this in. We're just gonna bang this out real quick. But once we get this wall off, we'll have completed I can't even talk. We'll have completed sectioning off our lower hull. Alright, we're looking pretty good. So I'm actually really happy with how the deflector room came out. With an exception of my walkways, I still have to figure that out, but I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks great. Got really lucky with that picture that I showed you guys from the last episode, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been able to build this out the way that I did. We're just adding in some lighting just so we could see a little bit better. Trying to hide it. Probably move those sea lanterns in the front in one, but may not even notice them. We'll just do a black line going around, but it's going to cover those up. I'll have to add another layer of sea lanterns in. Unless I have a hole. I think I do. We should be good. And we're just doing a square going all the way around that. I think that looks a little bit more complete now. I didn't bring this going all the way forward. Let's fix that. Top. All right, now we're looking good. I had to bring that a little bit more on the left, and we're going to do the same thing on the right. If you have any gaps here, I'll make sure to fill that in and bring your line back. We're going to do the same thing down here too, I think. Yeah. We're looking pretty good. We're going to delete this extra lines. I don't really need that on the underside of our deflector. We want to make sure we stop with the cut. We want to make sure that there's at least one block in front. Fill that gap in on the walkway. All right. We're looking pretty good, guys. We've gotten a lot done. Still have a lot more to do. I'm really liking where this is coming together. And the next couple episodes, we'll start to put in our walling here, going around our warp core and building that out, and then building out the rest of our engineering bay. But it's definitely coming along. We've got a lot of the prep work done, so we should be able to really start rocking and rolling here. But I think that's going to wrap up episode 44. Just want to thank you very much for tuning into today's episode. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed making this tutorial series for you. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And if you have any questions, again, regarding this build, if I'm not specific enough, drop a comment below. If you have any suggestions and changes I can make to my interior on my Enterprise, drop a comment below. Or if there's any ships that you want to see me build. Also, don't forget to tune in on Monday for episode 45, and you can always check out new episodes Monday through Saturdays. All right, so guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to thank you again for tuning in today's video, and I'll catch you on the next one.